Hello, First Take on a Wednesday. I'm Evan Cohen. We've got David Dennis Jr., Tim Bontemps, and Brian Windhorst with us. A lot to talk about, but we start with the big news from yesterday. In a shocking move, the longest tenured Indiana Pacer, Miles Turner, will now be wearing a Milwaukee Bucks jersey next season. The big man signed with Milwaukee to a 4-year, $107 million deal, and in doing so, the Bucks waived and stretched Damian Lillard's remaining contract. He is expected to miss at least a bulk of the next year rehabbing from an Achilles tear. Let's check in with Windy's reaction live on the show yesterday when this all happened.
If I'm an Indiana Pacer right now, I'm absolutely disgusted. I am sick to my stomach. If I'm Tyrese Halliburton, I am breaking things right now. If I'm Rick Carlisle, I'm furious at just what's happened because they were unwilling to spend a little bit of luxury tax money to hold this team in place for a year when Halliburton came back. To go to a team that they hate the Bucks.
Tim Bontemps, which team did this move impact more, the Pacers or the Bucks?
I would say the Pacers, Evan, for all the reasons Brian just laid out. You know, throughout the playoffs, the Indiana Pacers kept signaling to people that they were going to pay the luxury tax, that they were willing to pay the luxury tax to keep this team together. They had not paid the luxury tax in 20 years. There was plenty of skepticism across the NBA as to whether they were actually going to be willing to do that and keep this group together going forward. And they showed yesterday when push came to shove, they were not. This contract that Miles Turner got from the Bucks is a nice deal for him, but it is not way outside the bounds. They didn't give him a max deal. They didn't give him a $40 million deal. This is right in line with what he should get in comparison to the market. And by not giving him this deal, the Pacers have completely handicapped themselves going forward. Look, fans are probably sitting at home saying, why is everybody making such a big deal about Miles Turner? He hasn't made an all-star team, averaged 15 points a game last year. The reason why is because he has a very specific skill set that few players in the league have. He's a rim-protecting center. He and Brook Lopez, the guy he replaced in Milwaukee, two of the most contested shot players at the center position in the NBA. He also is an excellent three-point shooter. And that combination of floor spacing on offense and rim protection on defense, that is something every team is looking for in a big. It is especially critical to have next to Giannis Antetokounmpo, which is why the Bucks went and got him. It's also something that's critical for Pascal Siakam, another guy who likes to play in the paint, and it's why he and Miles Turner have been such a perfect combination the past couple of seasons. Now, yes, Tyrese Halliburton is out this season. When he comes back after this year, when he gets back for the 26-27 season, the Pacers are going to have to find another version of Miles Turner. There are very few of them around the league, and as a result, this Pacer team that just had this incredible run, just got back to the NBA Finals for the first time in a quarter century, between this and the Halliburton injury in the last 10 days, they went from a team that I thought was going to be back in the finals next year to one that looks like it's farther away from getting back there than ever.
So I'm going to give the Pacers a little bit of a benefit of the doubt here because I think that part of what you said is true. I think that they feel like if you give us a year, we can find a Miles Turner replacement, a 3-and-D guy. They probably also feel that some of what Miles Turner has been doing has been because of Halliburton and what he provides offensively. So maybe they feel like they can replace him. And also, let's not forget, they made a shrewd move during the finals. They got their first-round pick back, which could be a lottery pick. Somehow the Pelicans end up as a loser in this trade, too, which is what they've been doing all offseason. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. For me, this is all about the Milwaukee Bucks. This move that the Milwaukee Bucks have done has changed their franchise for the next half a decade. They're tied to this Dame Lillard contract, and they're keeping Giannis. They have bought into the keeping of Giannis part of their strategy, which I'm not totally sold on because I think that what's best for them is probably parting ways. This actually reminds me of a few years ago when the Clippers made the big trade for Paul George to the Thunder, right? 5 first rounds, 2 swaps, a heavy price. Wasn't, financial as much as picks, but what they were doing, they said, we're not just getting Paul George, we're doing this for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, right? The Bucks are making that same argument. They're saying we're paying an extra $20 million, not just for Dame and that contract, we're paying an extra $20 million for Giannis. And that is a gamble, but that's something that they feel is worth it because they're keeping the guy that has maintained their franchise for the last decade.
Windy, which team's impacted more, Pacers or Bucks here?
Where are they getting a Miles Turner replacement? Where are they getting that? Those guys are not available. They're not going to have cap space. Free agents are not going to come there. And the reason they traded that draft pick was to pay Miles Turner because they were counting every penny that they were going to use, and they offloaded that pick so that they could save a couple extra $1 million so that they could minimize their luxury tax. They were planning to pay the tax to keep Miles Turner because they've had the best team they've had in 25 years, okay? And the injury to Tyrese Halliburton is devastating. This is the effects of it. You look at the 3 Achilles tendon injuries that happened in the Eastern Conference, all 3 of those teams have been hit with some level of a wrecking ball. And if you were the Pacers, this is a team that was meticulously built by their front office without the benefits of high draft picks, without the benefits of ownership willing to spend. They had finally put it together, and they had planned to spend the luxury tax. And I will say, as a way to more well round this out so that I'm not being too hard on the Pacers, they were in fact offering Miles Turner contract numbers that would have put them in the tax. They were willing to go into the tax, but they weren't willing to do what they needed to do to keep this team together. And it's a gut punch, because 10 days ago, the Pacers were standing there in Oklahoma City, off to a tremendous start in Game 7 of the Finals. We're talking about a team that entered the NBA in 1976, okay? And they, for the highest moment in the history of their franchise, they were on the verge of winning the whole thing. And now they're out Tyrese Halliburton and they're at their franchise center, and they have no functional way to replace him. If they pull it off, I will be right back here in this seat congratulating them and saying it was a great move. But that's my skepticism. The reason we're reacting so strongly to Miles Turner, guys, is that this doesn't just affect Miles Turner. It affects the team that was just in Game 7 of the Finals. It affects Giannis, and it affects Dame Lillard. That's why this is so impactful. This is a through line that affects all of those things. And it's a shocking trade. It's a level of mortgage that really pro sports has never seen before. As a Cleveland Browns fan, this is akin to what the Deshaun Watson contract was, except for Deshaun Watson wouldn't even be on the team anymore, which is pretty much the way it is anyway, but that's another story for another day. This is that level of mortgaging, except for the players not going to be there. And I was in Cleveland in 2010 when LeBron was walking away. I was there those days when I felt the desperation that was existing and wrapping around the Cavs franchise. I felt not quite that same level when Kevin Durant left Oklahoma City, but I felt that a little bit too. And there's nothing like a small market that's losing a superstar. The desperation is almost depressing. And so I think if this had happened in Cleveland and these tools were available to them for LeBron, they would have done this. In fact, they might have done it with 2 or 3 players. They might still be paying off stuff in 2010 to hold on to LeBron for a year. So I kind of, in a way, get and understand and give, sort of a pass to Milwaukee, even though I don't think that this is really a smart move on any level. The problem that I have with it is that I don't think Miles Turner moves the needle. And I say that, guys, not as an insult to Miles Turner, because I have so much respect for him. He's a good player. I spent 3 weeks with him in China with the national team in 2019. I met his parents, great people, had great conversations with him, great guy. It is not a comment on him as a player. I just don't see this level of mortgage resulting in a moving of the needle that makes